Good evening, everyone. My name is Nate Braden. I will be the moderator for tonight's debate. Welcome to the 8th grade debate competition here at Skinner Middle School in Denver, Colorado. Let me introduce our judge and our two teams that we have debating. It's going to be a foreign policy debate, and I'll go over some of the rules and how it's formatted as soon as we make introductions. So, on my right, we have Matt Vigil, Michael Esquivel, Morgan Cross, Jasmine Eaton, and then on the other team we have Mr. Jaden Holmes, we have Angel Alvarado Martinez, we have Diego Ramirez Sanchez, and we have Miss Julia Shipley. Our judge tonight is Professor Greg Young. He is a professor of international relations at the University of Colorado. He was a U.S. Navy pilot. He's a professor of political science with an emphasis on international relations, and correct anything that I have that may be wrong. He received his PhD from CU and is author of The Last Century. So that is, he did the original research on the incident that Tom Clancy based The Hunt for Red October on, if you know Tom Clancy and what The Hunt for Red October is on. So thank you, Professor Young, for being here. He's going to be grading the debate section. That is one of several sections that we have. The first thing that we're going to do is we've divided up our 6 topics. They are Iran, North Korea, Middle East, Cuba, China, and Russia. So they're going to be debating the most relevant foreign topics in the world today. And in addition, they have been studying for the last year to cover the background information on all of those areas. So we're going to go through some background information in a section that we call the 1-minute drill. So they've each been assigned, they're subject matter experts, and they've each been assigned a country, a region that they're going to be expert in. And the first section is going to be the 1-minute drill, in which in 1 minute they're going to try and answer as many questions as possible, and we'll grade that for score. And I'm glad that our second judge is here, Mr. John Baker, just in time to read his bio. So John has an MA in International Affairs from American University. He was an international economist with the Foreign Agricultural Service, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and he was also an international policy consultant with World Perspectives. And if that wasn't enough, he was an international grain trader. So he has got extensive expertise in foreign affairs with an emphasis on economics. So that is our panel of experts that we have. And without further ado, we will begin our 1-minute drill. Our first topic is Iran. So we've got Michael Esquivel and Diego Ramirez Sanchez are going to be squaring off on Iran. So Michael, in 1 minute, you are going to have to answer as many of these as possible, and I will score you. So, are you ready, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay, here we begin. He ruled Iran until 1979.
The Shah.
Iranians are members of this ethnic group.
Persians.
Iranian demonstrators overran this in November 1979.
U.S. Embassy.
They believe anyone chosen by a clerical community can be a religious leader.
Sunnis.
This Iranian leader was overthrown in a 1953 coup.
Mohammad Mossadegh.
A country ruled exclusively by religious beliefs is called what?
Theocracy. Theocracy.
What is OPEC?
Oil embargo or oil company.
OPEC imposed an oil embargo on the West because of America's support for this country.
Syria. Pass.
Define secular.
Pass.
Define rash.
Reckless.
Okay, that is 1 minute, and you have a score of 8. Very good. All right, so Diego, are you ready for your 1-minute drill? Beginning now. Define cartel.
People who rule over a monopoly.
How many American hostages were held in Iran?
52.
How many days were those hostages held prisoner?
444 days.
The word for Islamic law?
Sharia.
They believe that only direct descendants of Muhammad can be religious leaders.
The Shias.
The Anglo-Iranian Oil Company eventually became this?
British Petroleum.
True or false? During the OPEC oil embargo, Americans could buy gas whenever they wanted to.
False.
The U.S. imports most of its oil from this country.
Saudi Arabia.
The Shah fled Iran to this country when he was overthrown.
America.
This fundamentalist leader took over Iran in 1979.
Ayatollah.
Define nationalize.
Skip.
Define impunity.
Without consequence.
Define alienate.
Push away.
Wow, very good. Okay, 11, score of 11 to our critical thinking topic. So, Diego, we will start with you. And tell me, where is this?
This is in Mecca.
And what are they doing?
They are praying
Why?
because that they believe that this is where Muhammad was given the revelations.
And what country is this in?
Saudi Arabia.
Very good. 4 out of 4. Okay, outstanding. All right, Jasmine. Who is this?
Muhammad.
And why does he have a bomb on his head?
Because a newspaper, the artist of this believed that that Muhammad was a ticking time bomb and could do anything of the crazy sort.
Okay, what happened to the man who drew this cartoon?
He had to go into hiding
Okay, and why does he have a death threat over his head?
because the Muslims believe that no one is able to draw Muhammad because he is like a holy being.
Okay, very good. 4 out of 4 on that as well. All right, excellent. So now we'll move to the debate topic, and that is, does Islam need a reformation? So Jasmine says yes, Diego says no. So Jasmine, and again, this is the portion, judges, that'll be up to you to score. So Jasmine, you say Islam needs a reformation. Why?
Islam needs a reformation because there's no separation in church and state. There's a state religion, and there doesn't really need to be one.
Okay, Mr. Romero Sanchez, why does Islam not need a reformation?
Islam does not need a reformation because they feel if they do get one, they will get corrupt. Their religion will get corrupt, and they don't want to be westernized.
Okay, very good. Now we will have the questions from the panel. And again, as I mentioned before, we will have everybody be able to answer that. So Professor Young, you can ask a question of the team here on the left. And be sure to write this down. So one of you, write Professor Young's question down. We'll give you a few minutes to confer, all 4 of you, and then give the answers. So Professor Young, if you please.
During the Middle Ages, when Europe was mired in the plague and was doing very few scientific achievements, the greatest mathematicians, the greatest philosophers, the greatest advances in medicine were happening in the Middle East, particularly in the Arab world. And now we look and they feel economically and politically they are behind. In the words of Bernard Lewis, what went wrong?
Okay, so write that down. And basically, it's a question on the decline of Islam since the Middle Ages. Why do you think it happened? Why did Islam decline and Christianity rise in the 800, 900 years since the time Professor Young was talking about? So confer among yourselves for a couple of minutes. And if anybody has anything to contribute, you may. And you know what? We might as well, while they're conferring, we might as well have the other team confer as well. So, Mr. Baker, please ask a question of this team, and we will give them a couple minutes to confer.
Jasmine, for you and your team, I'd like to know how you see the separation of church and state occurring pragmatically. Are there any precepts, are there any conditions that have to be met in order for that to happen? And if so, what are they?
Okay, so in a theocracy where there is no separation between church and state, like say Iran and Saudi Arabia, how do you make that happen? How are you going to separate the two? So everybody can confer on this side, and we'll give you a few minutes as well. All right, Diego. How about it? What is your team's answer to that question?
So my team's answers was that the Christians
Okay, you may want to speak into the microphone.
that the Christians and Jews believe that they could shape their own lives, including when the Renaissance, they grew more philosophers, and most of them were Christians or Jews, and they believe in individuality, while the Eastern had conflicts that hold them back.
Okay. Jasmine? What is the answer to your question?
The government isn't necessarily based on religion. Like, it doesn't have, like you don't have to do something at one point or at one time of day. And then there's no final religion, so everyone has their own choice. So if they wanted, if, like, your parents were Christian but you wanted to follow into, like, Judaism, you could do that. And it's encouraged. And it's, like, encouraged to like, go on your own and not to follow just a specific religion.
Okay. We will move on to the next topic.